how can we use technology to push back criminal activity? They need to pay more than the actual damage. They need to feel the damage. We're moving into territory where on open banking data, scraping will be dead.
Good morning, Gustaf.
Good morning, Sarah.
We're here today to have a chat around fintechs, about legal aspects.
Yes.
About open banking, PSD2, PSD3, PSR. But before we jump into the deep topic and the very, very broad topic, let's have a short introduction.
Yes. So my name is Gustaf Anselmsson. I am the CEO and co-founder of a fintech named Gokind that works in the open banking space, working a lot with financial data. And my background is I've been a commercial lawyer for a long time in many aspects, working with fintech, investigations and other things. And now I have the reason to apply that knowledge as an entrepreneur.
Thank you very much. And my name is Sarah Häger at Enable Banking. Let's have a bit of a look back, because if we look back about 10 years, before the legislations around PSD2 arrived, then we had a lot of screen scraping on the market, completely uncontrolled, and it was not possible to really see what were the different people actually getting, what kind of information were they getting, and how was it handled. So we got both the PSD2 regulation and we got the GDPR regulation. If I look back to my previous banking experiences, we saw many times how it was not possible to see who were actually scraping. And most importantly, it was not possible to see what were they scraping.
Yeah, it's I agree with that picture you paint. And it's zooming further out, like what is scraping? It's essentially someone mimicking you, like you give away your login credentials, be it to your bank or another platform, and then you have this bot that can be structured technically in a different way that sort of scrapes and clicks around and mimics that you are you. So it gets access to your bank account, and then it runs through that bank account and scrapes or extract things. And that has been historically like from a technical point of view, since I also have that aspect. I built stuff, a lot of software stuff. It's a very easy way to get going, but it's also totally uncontrolled. Like you said, what is this bot looking at? Is this bot only one bot, or is the credentials passed away somewhere else? And more interestingly as well, it's the techniques used in scrapings are also used historically and continually by bad actors in phishing and other things. It's like a technique used to get unauthorized access as well. So it's interesting how that technique has been used and how it has become, continued to be used in banking and elsewhere.
And as we got the PSD2 regulation, then we approximately at the same time we also got the GDPR regulation.
Yeah.
And from your legal perspective, what was the impact with GDPR?
Yeah, so I maybe a little bit cynically say that I worked in a lot of deals, M&A and other deals where there were data privacy aspects for sure, but before GDPR, that was given a secondary focus. It was put on the back burner, and we didn't have a regulation which just for the viewers and listeners, it means that we have a law that is directly applicable across the European countries. So prior to that, there were directives, which you can say is it's more than guidance, but it's not directly law. And when GDPR was introduced, it just became the main focus of everything, every deal, every commercial whereabout. And it was not just the fact that it was a regulation. The regulation also came with a sanction package that in some ways mimics, the punitive damages that is used in the US, where a corporation is doing something wrong or in breach, they need to pay more than the actual damage. They need to feel the damage. And that sort of sanction was included in GDPR, and everyone went crazy because now this was a commercial risk that could affect the share price of a listed company or affect the future of a medium-sized company. And that same type of sanction package is included in the future open banking legislation that has now been proposed. So I see the same road ahead, where things that was mildly interesting for the industries to look at suddenly becomes top priority to look at.
I fully agree on that. And I remember, again, looking back a bit, how we tried to get access to different systems while developing and building open banking interfaces. And it was often the case that other initiatives within the bank that were around GDPR or anti-money laundering or similar regulations, they always got the higher priority to get access. So that's something I really look forward to now with open banking, when open banking is no longer a directive, which is perhaps a bit sloppy, but some would say a goal to strive towards. Whereas a regulation would be something that you really put focus on and that you really have to and will want to prioritize. I see in that sense with a higher priority internally in with the different financial actors, also the insurance companies, etc. Looking forward also into FIDA, that they will very much have a higher focus on ensuring the compliance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think there are a mix that will make, for example, on the topic of scraping, that a lot will happen. So you have the regulation, you have the sanction packages, and also, we haven't touched upon it yet, but in this new proposed regulation, there is hands-on rules, sort of technical rules on how fintechs and banks need to act on this topic. So the message has been quite clear from Brussels. And in addition to that, and I think that's not at all like you have this regulation, you have the risks, but then you have, from a sort of software development point of view, having robust APIs that are giving you real-time access, stability, that's a huge value. A huge value compared to, running scraping technology that looks at, with OCR technology, what's on this page, or crawls around and tries to extract information. There are other risks beyond legal risks, technical risks with that, and limitations. So I think the strive from the industry to have APIs, fast-paced real-time APIs, stable APIs, uniform APIs, that's the way to go, because that's when you can make solid software on.
And build scalable software on.
Yeah.
Because scraping is not really a scalable technology.
No, it's not, and it's interesting now. So scraping, it's not just like something that occurs in banking. So there are marketplaces that it was initially built on scraping, scraping the web. Google is scraping the web, but when it comes to sensitive data such as
and personal data.
Yeah, personal data, banking whereabouts. And if you think about it, banking whereabouts include not just, how much I spend on food. It could be like which union am I part of? Do I have health problems? Because that will show up in the transaction data. Many sensitive topics. Well, when it comes to sensitive topics, I don't see scraping as a technology that should be used. So be it banking or health data, there needs to be more control. That's what the legislator wants. Is what they anticipated or envisaged in GDPR, but they weren't that technical about it. They weren't that detailed about it. Now they're detailed in open banking, and I think they will continue to be detailed. And it's not just about GDPR, your data, it's also the fact, and my company is now involved more and more in it, the fact that how can we use technology to push back criminal activity like phishing. So fraud is skyrocketing across Europe. Cybersecurity fraud and fraud, where you use phishing and other means to get access to users' bank account and just clean the accounts. We need a technical arsenal and a technical stability to push back that trend. The cocktail for me is quite clear where we're going and where the industry wants to go.
I fully agree. If you're a fintech today,
yep.
What are the risks would you see with using scraping?
Yeah, so there are one risk that's like very related to specific to scraping, and that is the fact that if you want to build lending operations on open banking data or critical decisions, should this company get a big loan or is this a fraudulent actor, a customer that I'm onboarding? And then you want access to open banking data, but if there is scraping in that technology, you run the risk that you can't really rely on the data, because scraping from a technical point of view is you have this bot accessing the account, going through it with various technology, and what it sees and what it scrapes can actually be manipulated by if it's a bank, for example. The bank has the only loyalty the bank has is to provide clear, correct information to the end user accessing the account. So when you log into your bank account, you see what's in your account, your transactions, that needs to be correct. That's not the same case when it comes to scraping, because scraping, then you access, for example, now this gets a little bit nerdy, but you access HTML code, pixels like OCR technology. This is known in the industry and beyond banking as well, that platforms that have scrapers, they will try to defend the integrity of their platform by manipulating the code, how it looks, not just to make scraping hard, but also to make scraping risky. So that could be, for example, that the information on how much I have in as mortgage, that a bank or someone else has manipulated that, so a scraper actually makes the wrong decision. And if you think about it, scraping is accessing information with bot technology and then handing it over and saying, we think this is correct, we think our technology is stable. If it turns out not to be correct, there's not really no one for the fintech to blame, because it's not a human right thing that I should have had the right to scrape and get correct information. There is no counterparty in that setup, making it hugely risky if you want to work with underwriting and things like that. But in the API, if we switch to what we sort of envisage an API world, then you have a sender, the one that's the bank that has the API, sending it out to the account information service providers. There is a relationship, and if the information is wrong in that, then the bank has a problem. It has there are risks and responsibilities attached to how the bank and that kind of stakeholder acts. But in scraping, you don't have that relationship. It's a lack of relationship where you mimic the end user, but that means you run the risk of being manipulated, or like we touched upon that the interface is changed and the system stops working.
If we should look a bit into the future and make a hypothesis, my hypothesis would definitely be that the push against scraping is going to continue, and it's going to continue hard. When speaking with the different FSAs, Finansinspektionen recently in Sweden, then it's clearly to be seen that they really want to push that away from the financial industry. They want to get rid of it completely. There is big hope on the PSD3 that this will be removed, that it will be removed to from being a primary source of getting the data into not only the secondary, but basically being the last sense of resort. The absolute final stage that you take it to, if it's really, really necessary. But you don't use it as the second option or even the third option.
Exactly. No, it's quite clear in the draft texts as well that it's a very cumbersome process if you want, and it should only be used in the exceptional cases where there are major technical disruptions. Maybe the legislator also wants a little bit of a funnel for, banks that in some way try to use their dominating position not to give the access they want, but it's quite clear that scraping is to be used when there are major technical disturbances. But given how, redundancy measures in other parts of tech, you have so much you do before activating scraping bots, and it's not like modus operandi to have scraping in a cyber security fallback. So I do think that sort of exceptional exemption in the PSR, using scraping when there are major technical disturbances, I think it's a little bit obsolete. I would, be a little bit bold and say that I think from a legal and commercial risk point of view, we're moving into territory where on open banking data, scraping will be dead.
I actually look forward to that picture where APIs, or to that scenario where the APIs are in a sufficiently good condition, Europe-wide, and where all the companies are under the PSR and are also operating under the PSR with the APIs.
Yeah, no, I think now we're sort of we're talking about rules, the risks, the technology that's not suitable for certain stuff. But on the other side of the coin, you have this tremendous opportunity when you get more stable APIs and looking into the future also beyond open banking with open finance, having access, someone, a credible stakeholder can tell me that my pension funds, I paid too much fees on those, I should change them. Like pensions, insurance, other things will be part of this API technology or
landscape.
Yeah, landscape where I can with permission move data, but it needs to be controlled. And as I mentioned, this is not just about fintechs wanting access to what banks and others have. It's we have this. It's not about what's happening in the banking industry as well. It's also about the activity we see from bad actors, and it's not a small challenge for society right now. So that trend will fuel the need for technical stability, more control. Like in Sweden, we have electronic ID. We have built up quite a lot of safeguards and rails on how you identify yourself, but that's not the same in all other countries. Bad actors get more sophisticated and more capable by the day, and we need, as an industry, keep innovating, but still pushing back that trend. And that's why stable APIs, where the bank knows who's getting access, what exact information has been passed on, and why, and the consumer should also be aware of that, because that's the main elements in GDPR. I'm free to share information, but I need to know why, and what should it be used for. And I think it's time that it's sort of that is realized, or that we can achieve that in banking.
So make it a hypothesis in a few years. What problems would you like to solve for them?
For banks and fintechs. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things. When it comes to open banking, meaning like transaction data, what loans do I have? How do I spend? What my preferences in life do I have? There's a lot of things in the banking data that could be utilized to create innovation on and help and give value to the consumer. But we need to also remind ourselves that open banking is also about corporate data. So corporate clients. So then there's a lot of innovation that has not yet happened. For example, a smoother journey to get loans and suitable financing, because the open banking data tells me as a fintech what needs does this company have, and I can cater to those needs better than what's done today by company applying or filling out a business plan and applying for loan, for example. I can make that journey smoother, and I can make that journey much more safer from a anti-fraud and risk perspective by looking at understanding what's going on in the company and its accounts. So what our companies is 100% committed to is to help anyone that wants to help consumers, corporates using open banking, while we help those clients understand the data that flows in open banking, because it's raw, messy transaction data, and you need to have intelligence on that. So that's what we're building it and rolling out, and all that data comes from API access, basically. So I see a future where we have an API implementation in banking, other parts of the financial world, but where we as what I'm working with, where we provide intelligence on what's happening and helping the companies help their customers.
That's a future to look forward to. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Sarah.